Welcome everyone to another episode, another video, another IGTV of Tej Talks, another podcast as well. I can't forget my audio people as well. So today I want to talk about cutting dead weight. Now I'm not talking about getting fit and losing some excess body fat and all that stuff. That is important for all of us. Well, not all of us, but it's important, right? Okay, but we're going to talk today about your circle, your cycle. Right? The people that are around you and the people that are closest to you, but then also maybe your wider circle. Now, I think it's really important. You know what? I think you do as well. And I would say any successful entrepreneur would say this, that, the people around you can and will affect how you think, how you plan, how you carry things out, how you are as a person, and potentially therefore then what your future could look like, right? If you're around high performers, generally you have no choice but to high perform. If you're around low performers stuck in the past, the same thing applies. Now that doesn't mean that, hey, you have a bunch of low performing friends and you can't be friends with them or you're not going to outperform them. But what it means is, if you're a sprinter, and you're practicing for a race, are you going to practice with someone who is 5 seconds slower than you? Because you're going to smash them every time. Might be good for your ego, but you'll probably get lazy and complacent because you're like, well, bloody he was 5 seconds behind me. I might as well run slower. Who cares? If I beat him by 5 seconds or 1, I'm still winning. And you get slower. Whereas if you're with people who are a tenth of a second behind you or a tenth of a second ahead of you, you're going to be like, damn. I need to up my game because I'm only winning by an absolute margin that on the day could become nothing and you could lose, right? That's not helpful. But you want to win by a margin, and it's the same thing with, property, with business. If you're with people that have big aspirations, big goals, and are doing something about it, you're going to look around and say, yeah, well, I need to, wow, they're doing that, she's doing that, he's doing that, she's doing this. It pushes you and inspires you, and yeah, it can, create jealousy or envy or some negative emotions from it. But if you frame it right and use it as inspiration and, breathe in what they're doing and really internalize it as a kind of level to aim for or to all be sitting on, to be pushing higher for, it really does change things for you. Now, I'm quite fortunate in that, I only made real friends, I suppose, when I started my recruitment business, 3-4 years ago, no, 5 years ago now. In university, I had some friends, and I made some decent friends, but they got dropped pretty quick because, whatever reasons. And it's the same thing with high school, actually. I do still have friends from high school, but you know what? Even if they're not high performers, they're always supportive and encouraging. And they're never like certain friends who are like, oh, what, you're going to buy 10 more properties, are you? Oh, yeah, whatever. They're like, is it? That's amazing. Like, well, how'd you do that? Like, but they're very positive and supporting. And so I've fortunately I've never had friends, whether I've self-selected or whatever, who kind of were like, against growth and against this stuff and questioning it. And the same with family, even the kind of older generation who you'd think. I've never really had that. So quite fortunate in that sense. I've not really had to drop people. I've definitely dropped people since, being in property and things like that, more so because they revealed themselves as a different person to who I thought they were, but that's a different story about racists. Anywho, so really, I'm quite fortunate in that sense, but I think a lot of people listening to this podcast may have work colleagues, family, friends, maybe even partners who just don't get it because their mindset has been constructed in a way that's different to yours. Now, I think most of it is learnt. I wouldn't say they've been born with that mindset. No kid is like, I can't wait, Daddy, till I'm in a 9 to 5 and I never get a break and I'm so thankful for the weekend and I'm stressed. No kid ever says that, right? Kids are like, yeah, I want to be an astronaut or be free. I don't know what the kids say. So it's learned that we should have a 9 to 5, we should do this, we should do that, we should perform at this level. You've obviously learnt it a different way and learnt something different. So as I said, it doesn't mean cut your dead friends. It doesn't mean, you can't hang out with these people because they're not like entrepreneurs and they're not bloody Grant Cardone and Gary Vee and all this shit. It's fine. If you're going to have friends who are not, right? But when it comes to what you talk about with certain people and what you use to inspire you and push you forward, that's not going to be the group to do it. That's going to be the group to have fun with, to go to the cinema, just chat shit with. And you need that. Yeah, you need that, of course. But there'll be another friend group or circle or network where they are going to push you and they are inspiring you. And social media is really good at that, right? It's also really good at showing you people faking it and making you feel insecure and inferior. Happens to all of us. But it's also really good for building a community and having a wider network, I said at the beginning, that's actually helping you and is really inspiring you. And of course, the more you get to know them, the more you get to know the real struggles behind the scenes. And then the more real it becomes and the more you evolve and understand. It's so easy to look at me and say, oh, he's got 12 houses, he's financially free, blah, blah, blah. But if you talk to me and you follow my Instagram and you see what's really happening, you'll understand it a lot better. And I think you'll feel a lot more inspired and motivated than you would if you didn't know that stuff, if you just saw the top level business, right? So I think it's really important to get rid of friends or people in your network or colleagues who, I don't care how long you've known them for or how close you think you are, if they're not good. Now, if they're adding nothing, but they're not taking anything away, they're just those kind of friends you have a laugh with, mate, there's no problem with that. Absolutely, carry on. But if they take even a single % away from your energy, your positivity, your growth and your evolution, they can go after themselves. Simple as that. Because you need people who are going to support you. Because this shit is tough and it only gets tougher. And as you do bigger deals, perhaps, or you move into other stuff, it's only going to get harder. If you haven't got people supporting you, and there's those people to dig in 1% at you, 10% of your energy, you accumulate that, do some, eighth wonder of the world compound interest on that shit, that becomes pretty heavy. And that becomes more than 10%. It becomes a multiplier. So you need to be careful, protect your energy, protect your health and your wealth from people like this. Again, I haven't had to do it too much. Maybe I self-select, maybe people look at me and think, yeah, I ain't got time today, that's not going to work. I don't know what it is, but generally I've been pretty fortunate in not having to do that, right? And I think the way I kind of see it is they don't matter. If someone's not supporting you, of course you need to support them. If you're being stupid to them and they're giving it back to you, then obviously. But if you're being supportive and you're doing your thing with them, but they're just one-sidedly taken away from you, you need to ask yourself, there's how many billion people on the planet? Do you need to be friends with this person? Like, do you need to be? Can you not find one more friend out of 7.5 billion people? Do you not think there's someone similar who you'll have the same relationship with, but there won't be that little dig? There won't be that negativity, that lack of support. Statistically, absolutely you will. Emotionally, you feel like you won't. But let's follow the statistics this time, right? I think following your gut is important, but I look at it like, well, if we had such a good friendship, yeah? If we were meant to be, and it was all going well and we got on really well, they wouldn't be doing that, right? If it was really a good friendship, they wouldn't be doing that. It's not, it's a good friendship, but yeah, they really pull me back in my progress. But it's part of friendship, up and down. It is part of friendship, but I have so many friends who don't pull me back at all. Ever. So I question if it really is a part of friendship. And that's cool, maybe something a bit deep. But I want to read a quote from Goethe. Goethe. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Apologies if I'm wrong. Tell me with whom you consort, who you hang out with, and I will tell you who you are. I think it's interesting when people look for their romantic partners, right? They always look at meeting their friends. It says something about them. And I think it's true to an extent. Look at Mark Zuckerberg's closest friends. Look at Elon Musk's closest friends. I mean, his friends are probably robots. But look at his closest friends. I bet you it equals what you think about him. Goethe also says, if I know how you spend your time, then I know what might become of you. So how you spend your time and who you spend it with, I think, are big factors and big indicators perhaps of where you're headed and how you're going to get there. If I want to be a property developer, I need to hang around with developers who have done 1, 5, 10, 20 units, 100 units. So I can have people at my sort of immediate where I'm going to be, people who I'm going to be in a year or so, and then people who I might be in 4 years, to guide me and really to inspire me and to have the conversations at a level that you need to be having. And I think, we've talked about this on the Property Duo podcast before. You have to upgrade your circle, and it does mean that you will lose friends. You will lose friends who maybe you thought you were close to, they thought they were close to you, blah, blah, blah. But I think for your growth, sometimes you have to. And once you cut that dead weight and that negativity, I actually think you'll get a lot more clarity and you won't regret it. If you regret it, then I think maybe there's something you need to go back on, and maybe they weren't the person to cut, right? Which can happen. But I think But do an analysis, look through your friends, see who's adding and who's detracting. It sounds really like cold and like, oh, they're just there for your use. No, of course not. And I have to make that clear. You will have friendships that don't fit into this, and that's fine. They are just your friends. But your colleagues, I suppose, you in business, the people you hang out with, the people you meet up to chat about marketing, to chat about business, whatever, those are the people you really need to keep an eye on. And, well, I say keep an eye on, but I suppose ensure your relationships are healthy.